Where were you in 1982?
I was 12 years old.
And this is right up your alley.
Yeah, but I didn't watch it when I was 12.
E.T. is what we're talking about coming up.
Yay.
Wow. 12 years old
In 82, yes.
in 82.
I was born in 1970.
You can get a little bit closer to your mic. Oh, I'm going to just put it up closer to you. Yeah. Okay. She's not a broadcaster by trade. I have been for my entire adult life.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to say the years, so just chill out.
You already said 82 when I was 12.
82, you were 12. So you were kind of about the same age as
Elliot?
Elliot. Yeah.
Yes, I was.
Remember, don't get loud, Elliot. She watched too much of that NPR stuff.
He'll edit it out.
I think. No, I won't. So anyway, it takes too long to edit out. That's why we try to,
Oh,
and
okay.
when you were 12, you didn't see E.T. when it first came out?
I don't think so. I don't recall. I was probably older. When I say that I was pretty sheltered as a kid, I was pretty sheltered as a kid. So.
Yeah, your parents didn't let you watch. You came from a Southern Baptist family where you couldn't really watch stuff like. Did you ever get to watch Follow the Yellow Brick Road?
Wizard of Oz?
Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to see that?
I don't remember when, but I don't remember. I do remember one time when my mom and her friend went to the movies that we weren't allowed to watch what they were watching, and they were watching Blue Lagoon, and we had to stay in the back seat and not watch it. It was pretty taboo. Come on.
Well, I remember once my mom and my aunt went to the drive-in, and we were supposed to go to sleep in the back.
That's what we were supposed to do.
And not watch the movie, and it was some foreign film about a sex change operation.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never known. But that was like there parts. It wasn't. That wasn't part. I guess that was part of the story. It's just the one thing that I remember.
That's stuck in your brain.
Stuck in my head, and I was like, and then okay,
Like
I can sleep. And so it was.
What's that about?
Yeah, it was kind of because I kept saying, "Get down, get down, get down." Yeah.
I think
As the mosquito thing was burning and turning around.
Mosquito thing.
Yeah,
What?
you never because I grew up near Galveston.
Yeah.
You go to the drive-in, you had to have. They still sell them. They're like a little circle thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you light it, and some kind of something comes out that keeps
Yeah.
mosquitoes away.
I don't.
But anyway, you were 12. E.T. comes out.
Anyone?
You don't go to the theaters to see it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we did.
Yeah, and so I was
You saw it,
21.
though.
Yeah, saw it.
Because I was 12. Again,
And
I was 12.
anyway, so when do you remember when you saw it?
Man, I was probably, if I had to guess, probably 16 or something like that.
So you were about Elliot, I'm guessing, was probably like 9 or 10.
Maybe.
Maybe
I think
12.
he was probably not 12. I think he was probably younger than that.
Yeah.
Probably 9 or 10. Yeah.
And I think that when we talk about it's such a great movie. I always loved Steven Spielberg, and one of his first, obviously, and it was. There's so many different layers to that movie. You can just watch it as a movie and you love it and don't think about it. But
you don't think about the messages or the symbolism in the movie.
Yeah, and it's like I'm gonna make sure that you're catching you. So it's like there's symbolism, there's messages, there's examples of life, I think, and both not only what's going on within the family, but when the friendship that's
developed between Elliot and E.T.
and E.T. Yeah,
the tie that they have, the bond that they have, and you can see that in the movie. And in the first half of the movie, there's a scene where Elliot's in school, and Elliot is sitting at a desk, and E.T. is at home drinking beer,
getting drunk.
and Elliot is he's feeling what ET's doing. So he's experiencing that. So,
Which,
yeah.
the suggested rating on Amazon and for the movie itself is 13 plus.
Is it?
So it's not really something you'd watch with your younger
No, I guess not.
grandkids, but
No.
partly because there's some scary stuff,
There's
obviously.
scary stuff and there's some suggestive stuff. And, like, it's not a movie that, I mean, I don't know if people these days would appreciate a movie like that.
Yeah.
Some of the things that they say, and you wouldn't hear that in a movie these days.
Well, yeah, like the older son, I think he uses the
Yeah, he
R
uses the
word,
R. Yeah,
and
that's not.
so
That's
it's
not
to describe
someone with
negative qualities of a challenging
Yes.
child, and
Mhm.
so it's and it's just some of those things. But you look at each of the individual children, even you see a development in the process of youth, where
Yeah, they're
Drew
each at
Barrymore.
yeah, all of them are ready to eat at a significant stage in a child's life. Yeah.
where Drew Barrymore has, and we see it in our younger grandkids, that innocence, to where
Yeah.
nothing's really,
Curiosity.
nothing, there are scary things, but nothing's really bad, Now,
Yeah.
I was surprised as the movie goes on, and I don't know, this is a great message, but the mom leaves to go check on Elliot and leaves
She leaves
Gertie
at home for like 10 minutes or something, and
10 minutes, yeah.
that's what Mom said. She said, "I'll be back in 10 minutes." So
Please, where's that school at? You can be back in 10. It'll take you 5 minutes to drive there if it was like next down the street. And then you're going to have to talk to somebody
Yeah.
because he got in trouble or whatever.
Right.
And then you're going to drive back. We're looking at least
half an hour.
half an hour.
Yeah.
Top, 45 tops.
Yeah.
So she didn't leave her there by herself for 10 minutes.
No.
But when you're a child, which Gertie was probably looked like 6 to 8.
No. Oh, no. She was probably like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
5 or 6.
That's what I said. 6. I said 6. I
know
put
you
the
said
6 in there.
8.
I said 6.
8's
though.
too old.
So it's like a
Because
range.
Elliot's probably
It
9.
Could be 6.
Could not.
Could be 6.
It could be.
Could be
It
6.
could be barely 6.
Yeah. So
She left later to go to school because she's younger.
yeah.
And the other two went earlier.
My parents never left me alone when I was I think I was
No.
until I was like 13,
Yeah.
and then my brother would have been 10, so he got
You
left
were in
alone
charge.
younger, but I was in charge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it
But
was,
you ate that up, didn't you?
whatever. I was always the protective brother, not the like when she says, "Don't let them torture you in there." That was another thing when the older brother is getting ready for Halloween, and you can hear because she said, "You're not gonna go as a
Terrorist.
terrorist."
Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah, and you think that because sometimes in life we detach ourselves from, especially when you're in a different generation,
Mm.
you start to think that your generation's the one that's most subjected to or protective of different things like race or other concerns and age, and when you go back and you watch some of these older movies, you see some of those things coming out, that they're talked about or they're used as examples. And
right. I see that, yeah.
so it's it's good to go back and get a little reference on it, that we've been working on that for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, like one of the opening scene is they talk about divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom struggled through the divorce, and just one of those things that it's not want to say timeless, but obviously divorce has been around a long time, but how she deals with her emotions with her divorce, and yeah, it's sad.
Hi, I'm Stevie
I'm Deanne
with Being
Grandparents.
Grandparents. It's a podcast we've been doing now for over 5 years.
5 years.
And it's been a lot of fun sharing stories with you. And one of the things that we love most is reading stories.
At least I do.
Definitely to our grandkids. So we decided that it's time for us to create our own book series. And we're starting the first one with kind of a true story.
It is a true story. It's a very sweet story about going golfing with Grandpa.
And it's called Golf with Grandpa.
Wow.
I took our grandson out for the first outing together, and at the end of the whole experience of him playing with the animals and chasing the geese and doing everything else, I said, "What was your favorite thing?" He said, "Well, spending time with you."
So sweet.
And you're going to find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble,
where books are sold.
okmoviestream.com, and wherever books are sold.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I mean, divorce now is almost expected or
Yeah, I mean, like,
accepted.
people-
Absolutely.
People treat people like they're disposable.
But I know that when my parents divorced, which was
A long time
in the
ago.
80s, early
Yeah.
80s, that it amongst our family, it wasn't really like, her family especially was not very happy with the fact that she
Was getting divorced.
decided to get a divorce and go off and marry somebody else. And in that particular case, in E.T., the dad evidently walks away from his wife and 3 children to
Yep, goes to
chase
Mexico.
after Sally, or what is it, Sally or something? I think it was like.
Person's name.
So,
That's convenient
yeah.
to say.
So,
Anyway,
the-
so I don't know, but he went to Mexico.
right, with
She
his
mentions that,
girlfriend.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The Elliot actually says that.
Oh yeah, it was true.
And
yeah.
so then that upsets her,
And
and
then she leaves, and
it's like it's then the kids have to deal with, and I think it's something that you have to watch for, and we talk about in another episode about divorced grandparents or
Yeah.
dealing with divorce within the partaking as a grandparent,
Mhm.
is that a child ends up kind of being in the middle, where they
Yeah.
have to care about this parent's feelings and think about these other feelings, and then
Mhm.
dealing with their own feelings.
Right.
That's a lot,
It's a lot for a kid.
Yeah.
it is.
And you
Yeah.
see it
Trying
depicted
to
in the
comfort
movie.
be there for your parents, and then you yourself are dealing with all these mixed up emotions about what side do I take? Do I take a side? Do I stay out? Yes, I'm in the middle, but do I take more than one side? Do I, it's hard for a kid, no matter what age.
And that's a lot of what we had read in our research when we were looking at this movie, was that
Right.
E.T. was representative of filling a void in Elliot and the other
Mhm.
children's lives of not having a father figure.
Yeah.
And which made me wonder, was E.T. a kid himself, or was he an
Yeah.
older
Good
alien?
question. Was it? Yeah. Like, was he like a kid alien, or was he an adult alien? That's not something I ever thought about.
Yeah,
But, like-
because he wants to heal, and
Mhm.
is it a boy alien or a girl alien?
Don't know. We don't
Because
know.
the ET was more sensitive to like healing, caring,
Mhm.
touching, and then he did like to drink.
He liked his beer.
so
He liked his Miller.
might have been
beer.
a guy. And then I think when the aliens, the crafts, come to get him, it's like he had to be a pretty important figure
They came back
for them to
him.
not say,
Yeah, we don't need you.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
they got more of you. You can help them.
Well, but I mean, okay, but you also consider the fact that they left without him.
Mhm.
So really, was he that important? But I guess he was, because they did come back and get him. He sent
But
him. Betty sent him
did
a
they
message.
leave without
Without
him, or
knowing.
did he choose to just
I
go
don't know
out?
about that.
And
Well,
so
he did, because he left. He was like wandered off from the ship. So
So I'm wondering, like, was he one of their leaders? Was he a prince or princess or something? Because they did come back. Now, the one thing that made me think that maybe he's older
mhm.
is that nobody came running off the ship and, oh, we're so glad we found you,
yeah.
like a mom or dad alien. And
Right.
they were just like, yeah, we're here. We're here. I'm sure they had something to do with
Yeah.
in the budget and not having
Yeah.
have to have more
than
aliens
one
running
alien.
back and forth,
Yeah.
and how we're going to make that happen, and
True.
figuring all that out. But
True.
as we spent so much money on the spaceship, and
What was the budget for that? Do you even know? Do you know?
I don't
Oh.
know. I don't know. I'm sure it was for that time. It
It was probably
pretty
pretty high.
high,
Yeah, probably went over.
and so that's what I was wondering about. What gender was he or it, and
Mhm.
what level of
importance did
importance and
they
age
have, or yeah.
did E.T. have, and maybe that's why they chose E.T. as his name and not called him John or
True.
Sally, or I guess
Just
Sally was
it's
taken
part
by
of,
the
your imagination.
right,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and you don't know,
You
know,
know, there's a lot of unknowns in the movie. There is.
and I think that Elliot probably he is at the age where he's the most affected by the fact that his parents are divorced,
He's the
and
middle
maybe
child.
why he's seeking whatever's out there,
Yeah.
that he secretly wants to know
Right.
what was that noise I heard or what I
Yeah.
saw, and
Agreed.
uh
Yeah.
and I like when she's like saying, they're trying to figure out what kind of animal he is, and she's like, maybe he's a monkey,
I know,
a
maybe he's a
hairless
monkey.
monkey. He must be a pig because he eats like
He's
a pig. Yeah.
That's funny. And then she teaches him how to talk, starting by watching cartoons with the letter B. And he's behind the TV going, B, B. And she's like, I taught him how to talk.
Yeah.
And then he can talk full sentences.
Yeah. And I think that, that was a breakout movie for her in her career.
Yeah. I think that was one of her first movies. She didn't have the best childhood. So that's another story.
Yeah, she came from one of those Hollywood
families, but she had a very troubled childhood, but that was definitely her breakout role for sure.
She, has since become pretty much a role model for the fact that she was able to turn around her life, rebuild a career, and then be where she is now.
Has a talk show, and yeah, she's made a definite comeback for sure.
And many of the actors in that movie that they've had success, maybe not all to her level, but continued working.
The mom had some success. She was in a lot of Steven Spielberg movies.
Yeah, right after that, she was in Cujo, next year. So yeah,
Cujo, and then she was in Close Encounters, the Third Kind. There was another movie I don't remember, but
which I think if she let her hair grow a little longer,
that's just dumb.
I like long hair on women especially, and
men,
and stop, and then so we have that
debate all the time.
When we first met, she shaved all.
I did not shave my hair, for the record. No shaving. It was just a short haircut, and I was
short is the word there.
Short. Yep. I loved my short hair, but it's too much to maintain.
Now you sound like that cat with his shoes. I love my short hair. I love my short hair. What is the name of that book?
Pete the Cat.
Pete the Cat. One of our favorite books to read with the green.
It's funny because when we read that, you read it, we read it differently.
We'll have to talk about that sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
So back to E.T.
Sorry.
And the semblance involved with E.T. Where you were talking about where they can feel each other. They're like they're
connected.
They're connected emotionally, and probably their brain waves or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they, when Elliot's at school, he becomes drunk, sitting in his chair because E.T.'s drinking.
And what's funny is he becomes a little bit more less shy towards a girl that he likes. And then in that one scene where they're about to dissect frogs, he's like, let them all go. And they let them all go. And then he was standing on someone else, and he grabbed that girl.
Yeah, he was standing on another kid's back and grabbed the girl and laid one on her. Yeah,
she was
like, woo! So that was a pretty funny scene. But and then you think about when you were in school, did you have to dissect a frog?
Yeah.
You did?
I was in 7th grade, I think.
Yeah, I think that's when it happened. 7th grade. We had to as well, and why? I mean, I guess it's like to seek out which one of us are gonna want to go on to a medical career or whatever. But most of us, I didn't want to do it. And then my kids dissected like a little pig or something.
Oh yeah, they changed. Yeah,
they moved it up. They bounced it up, and that seemed more. Like
it was worse.
Yeah.
Than doing a frog for sure.
Right,
because they're cuter for one thing.
Well, you say so, but they're bigger, so it's just like closer to any other animal or person to me. And I guess again, it goes back to I had to look that up. Why they had to?
Why they do
Why
it
do we have
anyway.
to do that? Seventh grade, but
It's a good question. I'm curious.
yeah.
It's
Somewhere
good.
Travis took a video of him when he my
Really?
yeah our oldest he was taking video of it while he was doing it and so
Funny.
but so that was where he lets them all go and
Yeah.
that would have to be upsetting to the teacher.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was very
The teacher
chaotic.
had kind of the tone of which it hadn't happened yet, so maybe they copied it. Kind of the tone from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I thought.
Oh, the principal.
Yeah,
Ferris. Yeah.
as because he was like, "Okay, class, we're gonna be dissecting the frog,
Flat.
and it's gonna be like, and what are you doing, Elliot?
There won't be any blood.
Yeah, there's we're gonna put the cotton ball in there, and it's gonna be we're gonna put the top on right away so that you can watch if you want, or you don't have to if you don't want to." So it's very Ferris Bueller to me,
I agree.
which
Yeah,
I guess
never
Ferris
thought about
Bueller was I don't know 10, 15 years later,
that.
but
It's one of those 80s movies, so yeah. Yeah, it was probably late 80s. So.
yeah. So, so that those are lessons there. Is how do you prepare your child? Because if he was 10, why were they already dissecting frogs? That's kind of early for that.
Yeah, it was. Maybe he was older. I don't think he was 12. But I mean,
and then why is he kissing a girl? I didn't kiss a girl
the
at
brother
10.
was backing and one scene the brother was backing out a car out of the driveway. So maybe the brother was 14 and Elliot was 12, maybe. I don't know.
14, 15. I don't know. Yeah. But it seems like so 7th grade, you're like 13.
12, 13, yeah.
But Elliot didn't look nowhere near
13.
No,
No, he's a lot smaller.
So it's hard to tell. We'll have to ask Steven about that.
Steven Spielberg?
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Henry Thomas, the guy who played Elliot.
Okay, fine. So as that relationship develops and they get tied together, you see that their physicalities start to change because of their, that they're so close. And
yeah.
I think when you talk to your grandkids about that, you would be like there are bonds within relationships, whether it's, I think like a friendship, a marriage, a relationship, like even like with your relatives, that if you're particularly close to your mom, your dad, your grandparents, that when they ail, you're not going to feel good,
right?
Because maybe you don't sleep as well until they're better, or you don't eat as much until they're better, and
it's true.
So there's a lot of those kinds of indicators about what's going on, and I think too that when I look back on the movie, I didn't remember this. And I thought this was kind of another indicator of it being representative of a lack of a father figure.
What?
Was the lead scientist was so nice to Elliot.
Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't like, get on my way, kid. I got an alien.
Right.
We've been trying to get aliens forever,
No, yeah, he was kind.
He said, I'm glad he met you, is what he said. I'm glad he met you first.
Yeah.
Because had he not, he wouldn't have had a friend. He would have just had...
They probably would have...
clinicians, that were just over him and going, and trying to test him and get his microwave signal and everything,
Microwave signal.
So,
what's that?
And E.T. is, he had that.
I'm just kidding. It's okay.
He had that, he had built that device to phone home,
Oh, yeah. We didn't talk about that. Yeah. He started out playing with that device. I think Gertie. Did Gertie have him play with it, or did he find? No, he found it and started playing with it after she taught him to talk, and then they figured out he could use it.
Well, there were a lot of indicators that pointed towards the phone, the use of a phone,
the regular phone,
and on the TV shows he was watching, and the fact that the phone was there,
and then the phone in the living room, and
Sometimes, don't you ever miss having a phone, a landline? We don't have a landline, but I do sometimes. The thing I miss about a landline is the answering machine because
Oh,
you
yeah.
could hear people when they call like live, and
Oh, yeah, because you're screening your calls.
yeah, and you can
Yeah, you
ignore
can't
them or
screen
you
that.
can
You can't
laugh
hear the
at
voice
them,
on them. Yeah.
Yeah, your brother calls, you still owe me $20. Yeah, keep
Funny
trying to
guy.
get hold of me. On a cell phone, you gotta wait.
Yeah,
You
you
gotta
do
wait
really.
until the texting thing comes up, or you're
Yeah.
gonna listen to it.
Can you leave it asks permission. Is it okay if I leave a voicemail? No, or deny, or no?
Right,
So
you
yeah.
can't like listen to the
No,
voicemail as
can't
they're
do that.
doing it. And
Yeah.
I miss that. That was fun. That was fun.
I don't know. No, I don't really. I, I can't really say I miss. I mean, I get that part of it, but I can't really say I miss anything else about it.
But then E.T., that's where he got a lot of his ideas for wanting to phone home, trying to
Yeah.
reach out and build his own communication device. Could you imagine if you could just slap some stuff together and call someone in space?
Man, that'd be amazing. Because,
Yeah.
I like
How
astronomy and planets and stuff.
how
That'd be
intelligent
pretty
you would be
cool.
to be able to do that, and
Huh?
how intelligent
Mm-hmm.
you would have to be able to do
Yeah.
that,
It's really neat.
like he did.
Like one of my favorite scenes is when they're in the woods and they're about to they're trying to meet the spaceship, and then Elliot's like, I'm out, I can't bike anymore, and then he goes, whoa, and then they take off, and it's really, you look at the special effects of that, it's just like okay. But I mean, it was really neat at the time. Like it was really cool. It was really groundbreaking, and
Yeah, you'll think this is crazy, but at the time when the DVDs came out or the VHS tapes, which would have been a couple of years later, because back then
took
when a
longer.
movie came out, it took a lot longer for
Yeah.
those to come out or even to be shown on TV.
Right. Oh God.
Took years.
It
Now
was a
it's
year,
like
yeah.
what do? We look on. We look and see what we want to go see at the movies, and
Mhm.
we'll wait till
We'll
if
wait
it
till,
and then when
streams.
it's on, it's 1995. We'll wait,
We'll wait.
and like 4 weeks later, it's $3.99, and we'll watch it, or maybe if they doesn't have a lot of stars, we'll wait till it's on Max or
Right.
Hulu or something, and
There's
that's
a
another
process.
3 or 4 weeks, Whereas you had to wait a year, like when we talked about the Wizard of Oz, you had to wait a year to watch the Wizard of Oz, and you had to be home because we couldn't record it.
Record it, right?
Yeah, and everybody had to plan their life
I
around
know.
whenever
It was
those.
that way whenever Titanic came out, I was like, it took a while.
Oh, that's a newer movie,
Yeah, but still, it was 90s, and it still took a while.
Yeah, Titanic got me out of trouble once because.
Did it?
Yeah, remember you were upset with me about something.
Probably the sound.
So I went to the store and I bought the collector's DVD
You
and
still have it. Yeah,
brought
we
it
still
to
have it.
you, and
Still
I
have
got out of trouble. I don't remember what I
don't know
did.
why.
Probably wasn't anything.
Oh yeah, it never is.
But anyway, you think this is crazy? When the DVD came out, VHS tape, whatever it was, a couple of years later. At that time, I was between broadcast gigs, so I was working for Pepsi,
Mm-hmm.
and Coke was in the movie, and
Yeah.
they were Coke and V8, I think, juice.
I don't remember that.
And but Pepsi was the sponsor for the release of the DVD.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
And I was working for Pepsi, and we'd be at these massive displays and had all this kind of different stuff that was part of ET. And I meant to, because I still have, we used to give away these little ET dolls. They were little purple dolls that they would give to managers or
Yeah.
have part of giveaways, or that thing where you used to like keep the coupons from the box and
Right.
turn in all the
Box tops.
yeah, and one of it was a bicycle that we were giving away, Elliot's bicycle.
That's cool.
And I had built this display where I had Elliot's bicycle,
Mm-hmm.
and I took a Pepsi box that held 2-liter bottles, I believe.
Uh-huh.
They were big. It's a bigger box, and I put it as the basket, and I made a paper mache of ET.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I put it on, and like everybody at the Pepsi plant in Houston loved it, and the manager thought it was like the greatest thing ever, and they let me keep it up even longer than normal because it was people stopped at it all the time, and
say they can take pictures. But
yeah, they didn't bring their Polaroids in,
and I'll do this.
yeah, and then wait, oh, that one's not good enough. Let me hang on. And so yeah, I did that.
Pretty cool.
It was pretty crazy. I don't know why. I was always trying to, you know, get advancement, and so I did different things
It's really neat.
creatively
There was
that
a picture.
others couldn't. There is actually somewhere. I don't know. I don't know.
To find
Somewhere at the house, I did take actually took my Polaroid
actual picture and
took a photo of it, and so we had it. So it was, it's kind of crazy. It was a big event for Pepsi and having
I
ET.
bet. Yeah, that was a huge deal. Yeah.
So one of the things for me when we talk a lot about some of the things that we found when we were looking up the movie was that let me pull it up real quick.
Well, I have. I think it's interesting that we were talking about symbolism of the movie and messages in the movie, and there was that one movie about Steven Spielberg's life
Mm-hmm.
called The Fablemans, and in that movie, his parents are divorced, and so we were talking about how that ET filled a void for Elliot. Well, I think ET was probably part, like not ET itself, but like it was a symbolism as his his childhood and with his parents' divorce and his struggle with
Right.
reconciling that.
And there are other people who mention a couple of different probably angles, maybe more their own opinion, obviously, than Steven Spielberg's what he was trying to achieve. But I know one of them said something about, was the lesson really that good that Elliot and his siblings were not telling their mom what was going on about something that was so big, and especially when they found out he was an alien,
Yeah,
that they would keep that from her. And
it's a pretty big secret.
and then the fact that the family itself and their friends were avoiding the authorities, and not giving in to the authorities. I mean, there's a lot of movies that we see like that it's about, a child deciding that they're going to make the big decisions and not the parent. And then
she didn't have a choice. She didn't have an option to do anything. She didn't know anything about it.
right.
So
And then
she
maybe
didn't help. She didn't know anything. She could have.
because she was working and
She was working and
take
going
care
through
of 3
things.
kids.
Yeah. So
And she's probably dating.
maybe.
Yeah.
He doesn't mention that in the movie. But
They didn't
maybe.
show that at all. And
That's another speculation.
and then they she was an attractive woman, just if she let her hair grow out a little
Oh
bit.
my god.
And then there's the ones that talk about the actual treating of an alien, whether it's somebody from another country,
Right.
and how you would, what kind of efforts would you
What
make?
would you do?
Yeah,
Right.
to learning their language or helping them learn yours,
Their
or
culture, your culture,
yeah,
things like that.
putting them up in your house,
Right.
things like that.
It's a
And
good message.
so
behind that.
there's that message. There's also the ones that talk about the fact of, from a relationship standpoint, that as siblings, they all had each other's back when
Yeah.
it came right down to it.
They became closer throughout the movie.
They picked on each other like anyone else, but when it really was important, they were there for each other. Even when his older brother goes out looking for ET, which to me, that was kind of scary, that pale skinned, ET body just sickly laying there, in the river. And 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 he went looking all over. He could have said, I want to go, I'm going to go chase this girl or practice driving or whatever,
He needed it back down the driveway.
But he went after him and found him, and
it's commitment.
Yeah. And then kind of the other thing that's I found kind of interesting is,
what?
I always like to watch older movies and find people in them in small parts who go on to do bigger stuff.
He does that when we watch movies. He'll do research.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll read the whole
Sometimes
thing
ad nauseum.
about the movie, and I say, "You want to know how it ends?" And then she does.
No, I don't. I'm good. Thank you.
But who was in that movie? Who else was in that movie that went
Well,
on to do something?
C. Thomas Howell. He was from The Outsiders. He was a.
Yeah, I didn't know if you realized that or
I
saw
did.
this. Yeah.
Yes, I did. I saw him in the movie. We were watching it. I was like, oh, hey, look, there's a Pony Boy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which that was the next movie that was released that had him in it.
Yeah. No, I did. It's funny because
Ponytail Boy.
No.
What?
Pony Boy.
Okay, fine.
Come on. I noticed that. I was like, oh, look.
Which recently you and our youngest daughter went to go meet him.
Right. So here in Tulsa, there's the Outsiders House. If you aren't familiar with that movie, it's
Now a museum.
A museum now, and where they had the family lived, and so he was there doing a C. Thomas Howell was there doing a meet and greet, and our youngest daughter really likes C. Thomas Howell and the Outsiders, so that was exciting, and he was very kind and warm, and
so that's pretty cool.
It was.
Hi, I'm Stevie.
I'm Deanne.
With Being
Grandparents.
Grandparents. It's a podcast we've been doing now for over 5 years. And it's been a lot of fun sharing stories with you. And one of the things that we love most is reading stories.
At least I do.
Definitely to our grandkids. So we decided that it's time for us to create our own book series. And we're starting the first one with kind of a true story.
It is a true story. It's a very sweet story about going golfing with Grandpa.
And it's called Golf with Grandpa.
Ow.
I took our grandson out for the first outing together, and at the end of the whole experience of him playing with the animals and chasing the geese and doing everything else, I said, "What was your favorite thing?" He said, "Well, spending time with you."
So sweet.
And you're going to find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble,
where books are sold.
okmoviestream.com, and wherever books are sold.
Thanks.
The other thing for me that I would like to see, and I don't think it's too late for this.
Oh, no.
Where Are They Now movie. You know, it's a second E.T. movie.
Second E.T. movie.
Yeah, you know, because like,
well, let's see.
What happened to him? I mean, like, okay, first, right after E.T., there would be like all kinds of media. Everybody wanted to talk to Elliot and talk to the brother.
So you mean E.T. 2?
Yeah, E.T. 2. Because, you know, the media would, you know, what would their lives have been for the next few years? Did they go into witness protection? Did they?
Witness protection. How far, like, would you wait after the first one to make a second E.T.?
It's like I said, I think they can make it right now, have some flashbacks.
Oh, you mean right now?
Yeah, you know, and did E.T., because they were so close, E.T. touches Elliot.
Uh-huh. Right.
You know, does he give him some insight? Is Elliot now, you know, like Steve Jobs or one of those guys or somebody who invented energy that made some huge contribution to our world because E.T. gave him some kind of advanced technology.
The actors are still alive.
How many of those actors? I think they all are. They're all pretty active.
Is Dee Wallace still alive?
I think so.
Is she? Oh, okay.
I think so. She's like 75 or something like that.
I mean, it would be in real time. So I mean, yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should do it. You should do it.
I should do it. Yeah. I'm gonna get what's her name on the phone?
Dee Wallace?
No.
Drew Barrymore?
Drew Barrymore on the phone. And so yeah, hey, I've been kicking around this idea with Steven Spielberg. We were having a beer and we said, hey, we should do E.T. 2, the sequel. Where are they now? But it's because, you know, what would it hurt E.T. to give Elliot a little extra something?
Yeah.
So he could have had an easy life.
True.
You know, he let him fly and everything else. Yeah. Why not give him some mad, crazy invention?
That's a good idea. You should do it.
All right, we'll think about it, but I guess we better wrap this up. But E.T.,
it's going a while.
We think E.T. gets, you know, double thumbs up from us, and we love it as a family movie. I know I watched it with all of my kids growing up, and your kids too, and it's a precious tale of friendship, family, and
Hope.
and I think it was like one of the first movies, at least one of the first movies in modern times to really bring out the extraterrestrial thing.
Oh,
Because
cool.
before it was monsters and
That's true.
stuff like that, ghosts, and then eventually, because I think people less believe there's a chance for a Frankenstein
Yeah.
or
Dracula.
or any of those things that okay, what about aliens? Let's bring some aliens into it. And one of our favorite shows involves an alien too. Probably
That's
don't
true.
want to watch it with the
Yeah.
grandkids unless they're
It's a
18.
funny show.
Yeah. Resident Alien.
Yes.
And what's that guy's name that's in it? Forgot. Never
I know.
mind. Yeah. Well, you're
I just can't remember his name.
having a brain fart over
Yeah,
here, both
sorry.
of us. So anyway,
All right.
thanks for hanging out. ET,
you.
we put it on your thing. Wait till your kids are 13 or above,
Yes, absolutely.
and then give them a watch and tell them all about when you first watched it.
Oh, yeah. Great storytelling.
See ya.
Bye.